The United States makes the UN work when it wants it to work. And that is exactly the way it should be, because the only question to the United States is what's in our national interest.
My name is John, and the International Criminal Court is now in session. It is January 26th, 2025, and as all of you know by now, VELYKA NOVOSILKA has fallen to Russia. A little late. Because here's the thing. When I made my last video, the previous week, I thought it would be only a matter of like a few days or so that it would fall to Russia. But I was wrong. The capture ended up taking essentially an entire week to complete. And today, I guess it is now 100% official. Both the Russians and the Ukrainians concur that VELYKA NOVOSILKA is under Russian control. So the town has fallen after 2 years of being literally threatened by the Russians. And as far as I know, the Ukrainians really tried, for no apparent reason, to stop the Russian advance into VELYKA NOVOSILKA. They were trying to, I guess, put up a heroic last stand in the town, sort of like how the Azov guys did in Mariupol. And also maybe, I guess, put up a last stand in maybe Ugledar, in Avdiivka, in Bakhmut, aka Artyomovsk. They tried to put up a, like, heroic last stand, like they did. All about PR. But instead, once again, it was another disaster for the armed forces of Ukraine, and they lost this town. I honestly don't know what else to say. VELYKA NOVOSILKA, for the most part, was fought over for only 1 week. It didn't even take a month or so. Once the Russians had entered it, it was already over. It's just the Ukrainians refused to accept it until the very last moment. So yeah, Deep State yesterday confirmed the capture by Russia, and the Russian MOD, as I said, concurred with that claim. So now, the Russians control essentially all of, most of, southern Donetsk Oblast. So this means that a Russian entry into Dnipropetrovsk Oblast is now all but imminent. It's inevitable. They will likely enter it in February 2025, literally next month. Right after I turn 25 or so. And then after that, all hell will break loose. You got people out there like Jake Bro, Denis Davidov, reporting from Ukraine, and Ukraine Matters, Georgie from Denmark or so, claiming, oh, but the Russians are slowing down. You should check out the oil refinery that just got hit. Yes, it did get hit. For those who don't know, in the province of, let's see here, Ryazan, it's home to one of the biggest oil refineries in all of Russia. And apparently Ukrainian drones attacked this place, setting fires to it. Now, some Ukraine fanboy accounts claim that they were destroyed, but there's no credible evidence of that actually happening. Yes, it was a PR blow to the Russians, because it shows that their air defense here in this area is pretty weak, but also it shows that Ukrainians are not going to stop until they destroy one of these refineries, so that the Russian economy might collapse. In fact, they all keep talking about a Russian collapse, but as far as I see, I just don't, know of any evidence whatsoever that can back up those claims. But yes, the Ryazan oil refinery was attacked by the Ukrainians in the last couple of days, and I'm expecting more attacks like this to continue across Western Russia. I don't know why anybody would think otherwise. It will continue. Because they got nothing to lose. They're losing territory, and they're also losing, literally, their grasp on reality. There's talks of negotiations, but I'm not really buying it. I think it's all just talk by Donald Trump in order to save this dying Mickey Mouse state from collapse. as Ukraine fanboys would say. You're all talking about collapse, like on both sides. Collapse, collapse, collapse. But where is the collapse? I see no indications of a collapse, and I just don't see it happening anytime soon. We're going to continue to see the same old until somebody just simply runs out of gas. It's that simple. It's that simple. But anyway, let's look. In the Kharkiv direction, not much really changed here, though we should expect this area to become more active in the coming months. Nothing in the Siversk direction. And then back to Donetsk Oblast. In the Pokrovsk direction, which is, again, not far from the Dnipropetrovsk Oblast border, the Russians are trying to bypass Udachny from the south. And perhaps this move to potentially encircle the village or town itself may be successful, and it will all but unlock the gates to Dnipropetrovsk from this direction here. The Russians have also reportedly captured the village of Silivka here, Silivka, and have also reportedly taken some positions in the village of Nadivka. And if Nadivka falls, then all that remains for the Russians to get to Dnipropetrovsk Oblast from this part of the front is to take the village of Kotlyrivka. And if they take this, then they're all but in. Nothing can really stop them at that point. And there's also reports that Novosilka has fallen to the Russians too, though Syriac has not colored it in. In fact, speaking of which, I want to mention that Syriac has announced that he's going on a short, 1-week hiatus. I don't know for what reasons whatsoever, but he is going on a break, so maybe expect me to take some time away too, unless I decide for some reason to use DivGen and Deep State UA in the next video, which I could end up doing to make up for the absence of Syriac. But yeah, Russia is getting closer to Dnipropetrovsk Oblast, and in the village of Andriivka, the Russians have taken control of some strategic fortifications, which defend this village from being taken. And with this, Deep State has even confirmed it, by the way, we can make a conclusion that Andriivka is already cooked. And once Andriivka is taken, there's not really much stopping the Russians from clearing basically this entire pocket here that's south of it. And also, don't forget these areas here, Oleksivka and Behatir. And again, the pathway to Dnipropetrovsk is being broken open, and there will be no way for the Ukrainians to stop them. No way. And also, there's a report speculating on the street right now that Ukrainians are being actually evacuated from the city of Pokrovsk and the city of Myonograd. I don't know how credible these claims are, but if this were to be true, it means that they don't feel confident that they can hold on to the city, and that Pokrovsk will likely be taken by the Russians within a matter of a month or two. But I'm not going to give any sort of credibility to these rumors that are being spread around, because I just think it's too little, too good to be true, to be honest with all of you. And also, I feel like there is going to be a fight for the city, like there was in Selidova for a bit. But let's be honest. Once the Russians enter Pokrovsk, regardless of what direction it is, it's over. It is already over, and the same will be said about Myonograd. Once the Russians enter both cities, the battle for them will already have been decided. It's that simple. And also, let's go to Toretsk. It appears it's all but confirmed now that Toretsk has fallen to Russia, though, some would argue that the mines and maybe some shacks count, but I disagree. Toretsk has fallen to Russia, essentially. Nothing can really dispute that now. It's under Russian control as we speak. Basically the entire, city. And, yeah, the battle for Toretsk is over at the same time as VELYKA NOVOSILKA. And also, in Chasiv Yar, it appears that the Russians have, in fact, geolocations have backed these claims, by the way, that they have taken the northern part of Chasiv Yar and are also advancing in this area here. In fact, I've already seen some claims that the Russians have cleared out this area of Ukrainian troops, and it now all seems but certain that central Chasiv Yar is about to fall to Russia. And once this happens, the battle for Chasiv Yar is pretty much over. I mean, obviously, there's still going to be the southern private residencies here in the south, but it won't really matter. I mean, the battle for main Chasiv Yar will have concluded, and it's likely that the Ukrainians will just withdraw from these areas just so that they don't get fired upon too much. And they will evacuate to Konstantinivka, which is further southwest. And as I said, nothing much happening in the Kharkiv direction, and also in the Liman direction. The Ukrainians have reportedly started reinforcing this area after they had a bit of a collapse here, but I honestly don't expect this front to move for quite some time again. And also, there is a report that the Russians have taken control of a couple of these villages here in Lugansk Oblast, and if the rumors are to be true, that means that there's only like 2 villages left for the Russians in the Lugansk Oblast to retake after they lost them in the 2022 Kharkiv wild offensive by the armed forces of Ukraine at that time. In Kursk, there hasn't really been a lot of advances. Some say that the Ukrainians are bogging down the Russians, but I really disagree with those takes. And there's also a report that the fighting has started for Guivo too, and once that falls, then pretty much the Russians will be back in at the border with the Sumy Oblast. And Dima military summary claimed that Ukrainians are going to try another offensive in this direction here. But I wish them a lot of luck, because the surprise element is no longer there, and I just don't honestly see how the armed forces of Ukraine can continue to stop the Russian onslaught in southern Donetsk Oblast, which is arguably their weakest point, and also potentially stopping as well the Russian advance in the Kharkiv Oblast as well. I mean, they're really hungry for revenge over there. They are. Now, before I go, apparently, Trump said that, I don't know, he's still trying to look for a ceasefire, and he also promised that, I don't know, guess the war would be over within the first 100 days or so of his presidency. In fact, he gave General Kellogg, that exact time frame to get shit over and done with, but to be quite honest with you guys, I just don't see any indication of that happening, at all. And also, he threatened Russia with more sanctions and tariffs if they were to not come to the negotiating table. That is not how you start negotiations with Russia, by giving them an ultimatum. And also, he falsely claimed that Russia lost 60 million people during World War II, when in reality, the Soviets had only lost a total of 30 million people. And I also forgot to mention that he claimed that Russians lost 1 million soldiers, to death in the Russo-Ukrainian war, when in reality, we don't really know the true casualty numbers of the Russians, actual, authenticated casualty numbers. And then, the next day or so, he claims that, they lost 800,000 instead. So, Donald Trump doesn't know what he's talking about, and I am gravely concerned that his advisors, once again, just like it was 8 years ago in 2017, are lying to him once more. Now, is any of this a surprise to me as somebody who voted for Trump? No, not really, but it's still disappointing regardless. He has stopped aid in regards to, development or something, but not military aid, supposedly. I mean, there's a lot of conflicting reports surrounding the fate of aid to Ukraine. Lots of conflicting reports. So yeah, that's going to do it for today's video. I hope every single one of you enjoyed it and found it informative, and I will see you all next time. Take care, and peace out. Bye.